No, there's still a matter of an insect, Lovable said. The master of beasts claims it looks like a desert scorpentine, only 5 times larger and brownish red instead of yellow. According to him, such insects do not exist. Ordinary scorpentines live in nests like ants and are highly venomous. The creature that crawled into the chamber, according to the master of beasts' calculations, could kill 6 horses or 2 stone oxen. It was the true tool of assassination. If this creature had a bit of luck, it would have killed not only the young tiger and his attendants, but half the inhabitants of the House of Steel. We still don't know where the assassin came from, but unfortunately he could be a traitor. His body has fresh scars where veterans usually have tattoos. And one more thing, he has white spots in his eyes. Irisa's body was dressed in the armor of Pachandei of a bodyguard, covered with a shield, and a broken sword was placed on her chest. The funeral was conducted in silence, like all Kiranese mourning ceremonies. Only when the pyre had burned out did Fiala quietly sing the Valley of Black Tears. I heard her singing in the soft, steady beat of a military drum. Then I wept, but I wept like an adult, like a soldier, without sound or expression, with tears silently flowing down my cheeks. She received a simple military cairn made of rough stones with a stone lamp illuminating the path. On the offering dish, I ordered a carving of a tiger symbol and a relief in the shape of a centaur. Irisa has taken the path uphill, and we were left alone. The plan was already prepared. It took only a few days, as if the strategists had it ready in a drawer, just waiting for the right moment. At night, the signal drums sounded. Their thudding echoed from the palace, through the outposts on the trade routes, relayed from one to another, through cities, trade hubs, all the way to the desert and coastal forts. All the garrisons received orders to prepare for a march and gather forces. Each was to strike the red towers in its city. War chariots were brought in, and the terrified townspeople heard for the first time something that had previously only terrified the inhabitants of the conquered lands: the elephant-like wailing of a driver's horns. All night long, the forts and individual units communicated with each other through the voice of the drums. The 17th Timen of Heavy Infantry, known as the Stone Timen, marched into the capital with siege equipment hidden on supply wagons. 3 days after the orders were issued at the palace, when it should be clear that they reached all the outposts and units, the army was to form a ring around the red towers and strike them all at once. Precisely at the hour of the wolf, between midnight and dawn, on the 3rd day, at the hour of the wolf. But that night, it rained. The cloud arrived at sunset and a storm broke out at night. A wall of water fell on the ground, cracked from the heat. A lightning struck continuously, and when the first thunderclap sounded, I jumped out of bed. The rain was so heavy that nothing could be seen at arm's length. Waterfalls poured from the roofs around the patio, and streams flowed through the garden. We sat for a long time, embracing each other, the 3 of us, listening to the long-awaited rain and the relentless crackle of thunder. The eerie violet light illuminated our intertwined bodies. I saw Hela's face, Fiala's face, and sometimes it seemed to me that I also saw Irisa in the flash of lightning. This is how I remember them. In the lightning's glow, in the storm, in the gusts of longed-for moist air, and in the splashing rain. For a moment, I wanted to step straight into the downpour, but the long-forgotten sensation of cold brought exhaustion over me, and I fell asleep soundly despite the storm. Probably as soundly as I hadn't slept in months. I was woken by a shake on my shoulder. I reluctantly woke up, wrapped tightly in sheets. It was dark, the storm still raging outside the window. The girls were bustling around the room. Fiala struck a fire, and then I saw Home. He was standing over my bed in dark yellow robe of a cinder caste, holding some bundles. "Get dressed and don't ask questions," he said in a voice so strange that it frightened me. He might have said something more, but it was drowned out by the crash of thunder, which rolled over the place and the city like wagons rumbling on the roof. Someone ran down the corridor with pounding footsteps. I heard distant shouts. I felt a sudden chill in my stomach as if frost had gripped my insides. Hone threw me the disguise I used to wear when going into the city. In the House of Steel, no one ran in the middle of the night. No one ever shouted here. Never. Pulling on my pants and clumsily trying the straps of my travel boots around my calves, I already knew something had happened, but I didn't know what. Fiala knelt before me and tried to help, but her hands were trembling. I lifted her face and saw that it was wet with tears. "Shut, quickly! There's no time!" Hone shouted. "Are we going to the city? Do you want to watch the battle, the strike on the Red Towers?" I realized. "Are we needed there?" I was still half asleep, which is why I was babbling such nonsense. I put on my shirt and took the jacket from Tahela's hands. "Treason!" Hone screamed. "The army has switched to the underground side. The Stone Timon is storming the Tiger Palace. Your father is dead. Please, get dressed, Lord of the Tiger Throne." And so, stunned and gripped by terror, fastening the clasps of my kaftan with trembling hands, throwing on a wooden straw cloak, and taking the travel basket and walking stick from Hone's hands, I learned that I had become emperor. "Get dressed," I shouted to the girls. "We'll meet them later," Hone called. "Find Fadira Alhama. She'll tell you what to do. Run!" "Noble lord, we must get to Leverbelt." No matter if one is an emperor, ruler of the world, the flaming banner, and the first rider. If someone is awakened in the middle of the night amid fire, chaos, and a storm, to be told that the world is collapsing, then it is far better to take orders for a while than to give them. I remember it all like a dream, a bad dream, like the hallucinations of swamp fever. Many chaotic images, one after another. I remember the ruddy flickering glow on the wet grass of a patio, just like in my dream. I remember the constant clamor and noise coming from somewhere far away between the thunderclaps. I remember the roar of rain pounding on the roof. We ran through the corridors. Among the rooms, furniture and carpets, wisps of grey smoke swirled. A corridor we couldn't pass through because it was crowded with the bodyguards. I remember the crowded backs, clad in armor, and the walls of helmets like cobblestone street. And the terrible clamor somewhere ahead. Shouts, deafening shouts from many throats. A stench of smoke and blood. The chamber of birds, where a roaring wall of fire already stood, forcing us to retreat. On the floor and carpets, among the orange flames shooting up to the ceiling, multiple bodies were laying. A patio where arrows rained down, a whole rain of fire arrows, which made a buzzing wail like a giant bees and trailed smoke tails. Hone dragged me by the arm. We ran through more corridors, and then, in the torrents of rain, we shortened the way through the garden. In the distance, the Tiger Palace loomed, looking like a volcano, like a dark mountain crowned with a roaring pillar of fire. "The fire of the desert," I whispered dully. We passed a few servants and attendants rushing somewhere with spears in their hands, their half-armors clattering with loosely fastened straps hastily thrown over their bodies. The corridor where a few bodyguards, covered in blood, were attacking a wall of shields bristling with spears in a furious rage. They waded through the corpses of their comrades and died one by one, collapsing onto the barricade of bodies. Swamp fever. A bad dream. I remember it like a dream. Again, the rain-soaked garden, droplets gleaming in the glow of a blaze like sparks. And my Aina, naked Aina, dancing with a round Kabiric shield and a saber in her hand among the rain and attacking soldiers. Just as I remembered her that night when I first saw her body. Only now there was rain, fire, and blood. I remember the black armor of the stone timon, the rectangular shields adorned with the 2 moons, and the gleaming spearheads, and the bodies laying around. And Aina. I saw how she hooked the edge of her shield on the convex hoplon of a soldier and pulled it aside, how she slashed his throat, how she leaped back, springy like a panther, only to leap again and slash flat across the legs, pushing the falling body and jumping elsewhere while the spears pierced the air and the ground where she had been moments before. I saw it in a nightmare. My Aina. She danced. The blades clashed with clatter, sliding off the Kabiric shields. I saw the stone soldiers retreating in fear, watching the naked warrior drenched in blood and rain. I saw Aina smile fiercely, sliding the crooked saber spine over her lips, licking the blood from it, then leaping again, and a head in a deep black helmet somersaulted through the air. She jumped onto the shields, toppling the men crowded behind them. And I saw the circle of shields close around her, how she danced in the center, her saber ringing against the wall of hoplons. The circle closed and tightened. Then I only saw the backs in black armor, like a swarm of crabs tearing something apart among themselves. And then a cry of triumph and a hand emerging from the crowd, holding my teacher's head by the dark blue hair. My Aina's head. I saw a face red with blood, and eye like holes through which the night is visible. I heard the triumphant chant, Ifrija, Ifrija, Ifrija. I saw it in my dream. I think I screamed and tried to run into the fight. I remember searching for a weapon, managing to knock Hone down, and then being taken down by him. At least, I think I remember. Like the feverish visions of swamp fever. I came to in the Chamber of Scrolls, near one of the entrances to the secret corridors. Among the shelves filled with codices, poems, treatises, maps, and stories. Levebelt was wearing greaves and a cuirass made of stone oxide, with a headband covered in metal plates tied around his forehead, and he was just fastening the cheek guards under his chin. I saw him dimly, as if through a fog. It seemed to me that the Chamber of Scrolls was full of smoke. Levebelt's voice reached me as if through a pillow. Is he hurt? No, Sitter Levebelt. I knocked him out because he was rushing to a fight. You did well. The sound of battle reached us, muffled like in a distant storm. Levebelt, I mumbled. My father is dead. Aina is dead. I know, noble emperor. I became momentarily clear-headed. My mother, my brother, the empress mother, my sisters, we must go. The house of Crimson is to the south. We must gather people, order the drums to sound, and call for help. Noble sir, your brother, the noble Prince Shagai, fell at the threshold of the House of Crimson, defending the entrance to the chambers with a guard. He died with a sword in his hand, fighting alongside his sisters and his tutor. The House of Crimson had already been captured and plundered. All its inhabitants have been slaughtered, and the pavilions set ablaze. Levebelt, what is he saying? It's impossible. He's telling the truth, Tohimon, Levebelt replied, fastening his guards and placing his foot on an invaluable inlaid table, beginning to tighten the straps of his greaves. Then hand me a weapon, I said. It seems today is the day to die. The world has ended, and no one wants to see the new one. Noble Emperor, Kai Tohimon of the Crane clan, the last ruler of the Tenjaruk dynasty, here is your father's last order. It says, you cannot die. He took me by the shoulders and looked into my stone-like pale face. I was trembling. Carry our world within you, Tohimon. You are not allowed to die in the battle now, just as your great-grandfather was not allowed to die after the battle in the Valley of Black Tears. Go into exile and survive. Then return and reclaim the Tiger Throne. Return when your subjects know what the rule of the Underground Mother and the Red Tower truly is. Gather the Kirenan from all the clans. Gather all the free people among the Amitraji. And then bring down the Red Towers to dust and lay nails in Phrygia's head on my grave. That is what your father said. I will not stain the honor of my clan, I shouted. We are all Kiranese. We are Clan clan, remember? No one will be left alone at the mercy of the enemies. We will not abandon his body or soul. Where one fights, all will come. No one will be left behind, no one will be forgotten. Do you remember it, Levebelt? Our brothers are fighting there, and you want me to run? Your great-grandfather shouted the same, but he obeyed, and thanks to him we gained the Tiger Throne and rose from the ashes. Now go, Tohimon. Remember what I taught you. Hone will lead you. He knows where to go and what to do. Carry within you everything beautiful that will be destroyed tonight. Remember me, Aina, Irissa, your brother. Remember everyone. Remember Maranha, which is now dying. Remember, you are now the only living memory. If you die or forget, we will all truly perish. Go, young tiger. Go uphill, then return here and rebuild Kirenan. Levebelt placed 2 narrow arm shields on the table. He slid his hand up to the elbow into the first and raised it with a triple blade to the top, then pressed the overshield against it and slid his overarm into it. The screams and clamor in the corridors were getting closer and closer. Hone took me by the arm, gently but firmly. They are coming, my lord. No, I shouted, not yet. They've all died. Let me at least say goodbye to him. I can't lose Levebelt too. I am the emperor. I suddenly straightened up. Son of a saddler from the Crane clan, I will not break my father's order, but you will come with me. You are not the only one who received the last order, Tohimon. Mine was. Ensure they escape. There was the sound of the chamber doors being broken down. The bolts flew to the middle among the scrolls and carpets. Through the gap, the black, rain-soaked and blood-stained armor was already visible, writhing like worms. Levebelt swung his arms, clashing the blade together with grating noise, sparking a burst of spears. Then he turned and suddenly embraced me cautiously, so as not to slit my throat with a razor-sharp trident protruding from the shield, and kissed me on the forehead. Go, Romasu, he said. Go, my life. Hone pulled me by the arm.